Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast.
Welcome back to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast, the best podcast coming out of Moline, Illinois.
To date.
Yes, giving you the knowledge you didn't know you needed in a way you didn't know you wanted. I'm one of your hosts, Dave, and this is your other host.
I'm Matt.
And we're here to kick your teeth in.
Oh, geez, that last part was a little aggressive.
I've been up early. I'm all hyped up on ginseng and black coffee. I'm ready to go.
This is my hat now.
I'm the captain.
I'm the captain. What's that from? I've heard a lot of people saying that.
That Tom Hanks movie about the Somali pirates.
That's right, yeah.
Like Mr. Wilson or Dennis the Menace or something.
Mr. Wilson? I thought that was the volleyball.
Oh, yeah. That's Scully, where he's the airplane pilot that landed the plane on the Delaware and everybody survived.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. But then I think it's like Mr. Wilson or something like that, which sounds weird.
Hey, Mr. Wilson.
If you know, leave it down in the comments below.
Yeah, do that. Thanks for being here with us. Got a great show for you today. It's all about the strange underwater happenings of Loch Ness.
Yes, I'm super excited about this one. Any reason to bust my kilt out?
I was wondering why you weren't wearing underwear.
Well, because if you wear underwear, it's a skirt.
That's a very important difference.
Yes. The only thing is, like, a kilt doubles as a camping blanket. So does that mean when you pull it off to make it into your camping blanket by the fire, you're just like giving everybody a show?
Oh boy,
everybody just got their butts out.
I did watch a guy tie a kilt. Like when you're scrolling through YouTube and they get the video starts a little bit, and boy, the way he tied this thing was pretty elaborate.
Yeah, well, they used it back in the day because, like, if you look at any old garb, a lot of men are in like full length, like what you would consider a dress.
Yeah,
but because it's good for weather and it's movement. Yeah, that's why theirs are shorter, because in the Highlands of Scotland it's very rocky.
Oh, okay. So you got to make a lot large steps
and stuff.
Okay.
And it also dries quick because it rains there a bunch.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I've been doing a lot of looking at Renaissance stuff after going to that Renaissance fair a while back. And a lot of the people I watch are not necessarily historically accurate.
Yeah.
But like historically inspired.
Right.
Yeah, so I've been really enjoying watching those guys. And I like when people make their stuff.
Yeah, well, some of those where they use, it's called like primitive. If you use like primitive technologies, but then you make something in a more modern.
Yeah.
Like when those guys just go out in the middle of the woods and they're like, this is how you make a cabin. But then they have like a really cool axe or something to chop the trees down. Yeah. So it's like, yes, inspired, but not necessarily like as they did it back in the day, but kind of. Did you, have you been out and about?
Oh yeah. Went to Ohio, went to Cedar Point.
Cedar Point. That's a park, right?
Yes, it's like a theme park. It's got like a bunch of record-breaking
roller coasters.
Roller coasters, yeah, that's the word. And yeah, my kid loved that. The wife loved that. We camped on the way out there and back, so my kid ended up swimming in like 4 different lakes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, everywhere we stayed was on a lake. Also, had some Lopez the other day. And Abernathy's has their own pizza down there right now this month.
Oh, are they the artists of the month?
Yeah, they're the Death Proof Pizza. It's pineapple, black olive, bacon, and barbecue drizzle.
Black pineapple, that's the part that throws me off.
Oh.
I like some black olives and some barbecue sauce and bacon.
Yeah. Huh. It was a good pizza.
I'm sure. Maybe it's a little sweet.
Yeah, with the barbecue sauce and the pineapple.
And probably like counteracts a little of the tangy of the olives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it culinarily. It's just on paper it looks weird, but in practice it's tasty.
Yeah. Oh, and we have a belated birthday coming up.
Belated?
Yeah, Jason Deathstitch it's his birthday in it's his birthday today on recording.
Oh, so
we're recording a little late.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
All right. Happy birthday, Jason.
Yeah, we'll have to I have something for you actually. So I do need to get a hold of you.
Yeah, and then we got to start plotting for Halloween.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I have some ideas for that, too.
Cool. Yeah, I, too, went on vacation.
Oh, yeah? Where'd you go?
North Carolina, of course.
Yeah.
Went camping. And where we camped was North Carolina State Park.
Okay. Did you go see number
North
one
Carolina
fan cam
Beach
while you're out there?
State Park. Yeah, we did. Because we just, that side of the family reunion.
Okay.
I got to see my mom and stuff, but then we went and hung out the dad's fam. But we camped in a North Carolina swamp.
Okay.
Which, because it was like between Cape Fear River and the Atlantic Ocean. And so it's just sand and pine trees.
Okay.
And like...
sand and pine trees is kind of a weird mix.
I mean, it's cool for camping because you're like kind of on sand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like also home to like a metric butt ton of mosquitoes.
Oh.
I came back and my legs were so bit up, it looked like I had chicken pox.
Damn.
Yeah, and I was like spraying. Everybody was like extra, but they're like super like Atlantic Ocean mosquitoes. They were just eating us alive.
Damn.
Yeah, it was rough.
Were they? Did they look like bigger? Like
no, they were actually like you couldn't see them.
Oh.
They would just be like fucking you would just feel them, and then the next day you would just have mosquito bites all over.
I got back from my vacation. And I was mowing, and I got stung by a bunch of wasps.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I always get a wasp nest in my shed. And so I fucking got some brake cleaner and sprayed the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But then I got stung like probably 3 times, and I like jumped like to get away from it as a reaction. And I like cramped up my leg really bad. And like I couldn't hardly walk for a couple of days.
Yeah. Did you fall on your keys?
But yeah, it was a mess.
That's crazy.
Also, a shout out to Carmen. Thanks for buying a shirt. It's on its way. You hopefully get it before this airs. But then there's the weekend. I don't know how that necessarily works. I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think they run. Maybe they have Sundays off, but I don't know.
Okay.
It used to be like.
Well, yeah, I see them delivering. Packages mostly.
Yeah, because they do delivery for Amazon on Sundays.
Yeah, and you gotta have next day delivery.
Yeah, because that's how that works. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Carmen. She's cool.
Yeah.
Soon because Cam posted a picture of her shirt, and then everybody got super jealous and was like, "Where are these things?
Yeah, and I only
give us the shirt.
Only have a few left."
Yeah. Well, if you guys are interested, like hit us up on the Facebook page and. Maybe we can see how many people and then do like a limited run or something.
Yeah, I'm not going on vacation, so I'll get back to you a lot quicker than I did.
All right. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Mikey. He always listens to the episode. He listened to the alchemy one and then was like giving me all these facts, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? I didn't know you were into this. I should have hit you up and got a bunch of facts from you.
Yeah.
But he also sent me a song. It's like Kurt Cobain, Ha Ha Ha.
Okay.
And it's just a bunch of like him laughing to some like tasty grunge riffs.
Okay.
And then I'm like, I've never heard this. Like, this is probably some deep cut. And then I'm looking and it's like, oh, is AI generated.
Oh, yeesh.
I know. That got me.
I thought it was going to be like mixed or something.
Yeah, like that would have been cool because he has this like bootleg CD of like Nirvana mixes that other artists like put together. That's pretty cool. So I thought it was maybe something from that, but no, it's fucking AI. It gets us. Fucking even Kurt Cobain, man. That's how we know we're done.
I do have on my watch later for it's a South Park generated AI episode. They put in like all the characters and a bunch of backgrounds, and I don't know how they did the plots and stuff, but I was gonna watch it for probably 15 minutes just to see how well it put it together.
Yeah.
It was kind of a long one. I probably won't watch the whole thing.
Oh, it's like more than half hour?
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half.
Oh, that's too long.
Yeah, it's not like an actual episode. Maybe it's 3. I don't know.
Weird. So, you got all your shout outs?
Yes. Until I remember another one.
Okay, that's cool. So, coming up this month, August 26th and 27th, the Loch Ness Center is having the biggest search for Loch Ness Monster since the 70s.
Whoa, really?
And they're looking for volunteers.
Oh, I better get my plane ticket.
I know. Just go to lochness.com and you can sign up to volunteer.
Hell yeah.
And you'd be working with Alan McKenna, And he says, it's our hope to inspire a new generation of Loch Ness enthusiasts. And by joining this large-scale surface watch, you'll have real opportunity to personally contribute towards this fascinating mystery that has captivated so many people from around the world. Because basically, they're going to get a bunch of drones with infrared equipment and do a map of like what's in the loch.
Okay.
And they also got a bunch of hydrophones, so they can listen and see if there's any disturbances. Yeah, just like that. And then the volunteers are going to be up on the around. They're going to circle it and give you like a bunch of high-powered binoculars.
Okay.
And just for 48 hours, just going to see if we can spot anything.
Everybody's going to be like deliriously sleepy by the end of the 48 hours.
Yeah. Paul Nixon, the manager of the Loch Ness Center, added that we are guardians of this unique story, as well as investing in creating an unforgettable experience for visitors. We are committed to helping continue the search and unveil the mysteries that lie beneath the waters of the famous loch.
Damn.
Yeah, so that's coming up this month, and so why not do a podcast about Old Nessie?
Yeah, you were pretty excited about this one.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm all hyped up on black coffee and ginseng.
It's a classic for sure.
Yeah. Loch Ness Monster?
Yeah.
Yeah. A creature in Scottish folklore that inhabits Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands, often described as large, long-necked, with one or more humps, affectionately called Nessie.
And the loch itself is a large freshwater lake extending for approximately 23 miles, connected to the Caledonian Canal and the River Ness, which eventually feeds to the Murky Bay and then to the North Sea. And I think that's actually opposite. I think the canal actually feeds to the bay. But I don't have a map in front of me.
I think it's the Loch, or the Ness River.
Oh, okay. So I had it right?
Yeah, you had it right.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it's
I never trust, old Matt.
Yeah, it's like 700 feet deep.
Holy shit.
And supposedly it holds more water than all the lakes in England and Wales. I almost said Welsh, but in Wales combined.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Everything else is way shallow.
Yeah, it's because it's 700 feet deep along the whole length, 200,
yeah, it's got very
22
steep,
miles.
It's got like very steep walls.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a big, like a canal. It's steep walls and then like a big flat bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've also heard that they claim that it holds more water than all the lakes of the world combined, but we have the Great Lakes, and I think
they're pretty great.
Lake Superior is actually like a small ocean or sea.
When we went to Ohio, and my boy was swimming in Lake Erie. Ooh. He walked like 20 feet out, and it was like still like hardly up to his waist.
Oh,
yeah,
crazy.
It was crazy. It was wild, and it was so sandy.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Because that's fun. Because that's like a lot of room to play.
Yeah.
Like, because we went to the ocean, and it's like you can play after the break, but then the water, comes in and out. So if you're sitting there, you're getting sand up your shorts.
Yeah.
And if you walk out past the break, then the bigger waves are just fucking pounding you. Yeah. Like, it's rough.
Yeah. When we went to Lake Michigan, there was like no swimming because the water was so choppy. And it was pretty wavy. And we were in the national park, but there was this part where the national park ended.
Yeah.
And like public land started.
All right.
And so everybody was just swimming in that part.
Oh.
Everybody was getting yelled at by lifeguards in the national park. Like there'd be like 5 people in there, and they'd drive their 4-wheeler up the beach and be like, "Get out of the water!" And then there was like 100 people swimming in like the next 25 like foot section.
Yeah, because they're like, we can't police the private area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. The Loch Ness Monster has been around since 565 AD.
Whoa.
Yes, and that was it was the first written account, because before that, what are they called? I forget.
Kelpies?
Yeah, Kelpies, but I was like the people of the region is what I was trying to remember.
Okay.
But yeah,
The Celts?
They were called like pines or pints.
Oh, okay.
Because they were painted. They would paint their whole selves.
Oh, like that movie, Braveheart.
Kinda, yeah. But so they were called paints, but back old language, it was pint or pints, something like that. But yeah, they had the kelpie, the kelpie.
Kelpies. Kelpies are water creatures that make their home in rivers and lochs and disguise themselves as horses. When a rider climbs on their backs, the rider gets stuck, and the horse-shaped kelpie dives into the water, taking the rider with them. One famous account of this is the Christian saint Columba. While trying to convert barbarians to Christianity, he saved a swimmer from the river Ness from a kelpie.
Well, yeah, because he was walking along the river and came upon a funeral, and he's like, this fisherman got bit in half by a monster, and he's like, oh shit, I got to do something about this. So he's like, got one of his aides, and he's like, swim across the river. And as soon as the guy gets halfway, here comes the monster coming out of the deep. And so Saint Columba like takes off his robe and hands it to his other assistant, and then like does the cross shape and starts wading into the water. And he's like, thou shalt go no farther nor touch the man. I'm being too loud.
A little bit loud.
I'm excited. So he was pretty much like, you shall not pass. Like, the power of Christ compels you. And the monster, in their words, was sent backwards and below as if dragged down by his cape. So, like, if you pulled somebody by their cape backwards into water, that's what happened to this monster. Yeah.
Damn.
And they're like, this guy's a superhero and shit.
Yeah, no kidding. The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah. So then there's a couple sightings here and there. Mm-hmm. And then in April 1st, or in April 1933, Mr. and Miss McKay spotted the beast while they were driving down the road.
Yeah, Mr. and Miss John McKay were driving along Loch Ness and noticed a strange motion in the water. A black creature rising out of the water, with water rolling off its back.
Yes, they rose and fell in an undulating manner.
Undulating.
Yeah, it's funny because every article I saw used the word undulating. So I was like, I got to put that in this one too. Peer
Gotta
pressure.
Be historically accurate.
Yes, it undulated.
The sighting eventually reached Alex Campbell, the local water authority, and part-time correspondent for the
Daily Mail.
Daily Mail?
Yeah.
I have Inverness Courier.
Oh, okay.
After the sighting was in the paper, many more sightings started to be claimed. Mm-hmm. Often one or multiple black humps in the water, sometimes stationary, sometimes moving, sometimes even adding a neck and flippers.
Yeah, okay. So it was in the, what'd you call it, Inverness? Inverness, we'll use that word. They reported it, the Daily Mail caught wind of it, and then when these other sightings started happening, they hired Marmaduke Weatherall.
Yes.
Yes, British South African actor, screenwriter, producer, film director, and big game hunter. And he went out to search for it because they gave him a grant, or gave him some, what do you call that, financed the expedition?
Yeah, what do they call that? Well, finance the expedition. What do they call a guy like Marmaduke? Like a philanthropist?
Kinda. But it also seemed like he was the kind of guy that anytime there was like a camera, he tried to get himself in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and after 10 days of searching, he found footprints of the Loch Ness Monster. They were like 20 feet, and it says it was 20 feet long, but I don't know if that's the gate, like a 20-foot gate. Mm. And so they took plaster casts of it, and they sent it off to London to the Natural History Museum. And they concluded that it was a hippopotamus foot, a left foot.
Oh, he had 2 left feet?
Yeah, well, he must have had 4 left feet.
4 left feet.
Yeah, and it just so happened that Marmaduke Weatherall had an ashtray stand made out of the left foot of a hippopotamus.
Yeah, and it was so weird to hear people talk about how common that would have been. And I've seen like elephant feet stuff.
Yeah, like umbrella holders.
Yeah,
but he was also a big game hunter, so he had all that kind of taxidermied shit all over his house.
And the motion you just did there for the for the umbrella holder.
Yeah.
I was like, for like when you're at the beach, you take your elephant foot out and put your umbrella in it.
Put your umbrella in
like
it to hold it up.
For like wet umbrellas.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, do you have anything between that and the surgeon's photo? Because the surgeon's photo happened like in 1934.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff I feel like just kind of out of order. Because the Duke, Marmaduke Duke, he had a stepson who was a model maker.
Yeah, well, if you want to...
Was that before or after?
That was in between, but if you go to the surgeon's photo, which is the most popular photo of the Loch Ness.
Okay.
Because if you look up Loch Ness Monster, it's going to show you the one with its head sticking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was in 1934. He was out doing like bird photography or something, bird watching, and then took a picture, caught the picture. He took like there was actually 3 pictures he got, but the most famous one, ended up being called the surgeon's photograph. Dr. Robert Kenneth Wilson was the one who took it, and he was...
Well, I thought Duke took it, and he got the doctor involved because he was a more reliable source at this point.
We'll see. This is the controversy.
Oh, I thought the monster was the controversy, but it's...
Well, Kenneth Wilson turned in the photo to the Daily Mail, and it got all this popularity and started up the craze again, because after Marmaduke's expedition, and then it found out to be a fraud, everybody's like, oh, this is hooey. Like, okay, this is all stupid. Like,
it's like when you find out that dinosaur bones are put into the earth by God testing us.
Oh, I thought you just by scientists tricking us. But then this photo came up and like became like it's the photo, like, and so sparked off and brought Nessie back to the forefront again. And then you fast forward to like late 90s, early 2000s, and these people are starting to die off. And then it turns out that this doctor got this picture from
the Duke.
Yes. And so you're talking about his son?
Oh, yeah. Duke was with his stepson, who was a model maker, and using plastic, wood, and a toy submarine, they created a model of the monster. Duke then takes it to the lake and takes a photo, because after being slandered, he needs someone credible to submit the picture.
The Daily Mail is not going to take the picture from him.
Yeah.
So he's like, he wants to make the Daily Mail look bad because they made him look bad. So yeah, he needs someone credible to give him the picture.
And I did see a picture of like it expanded. Yeah. Because it was supposed to be like taken kind of close up and then also cropped.
Yeah.
And I don't know I don't know why you wouldn't burn the evidence after you crop the picture, but I seen a picture of the monster next to the beach, and it was like next to a big stick. Like,
yeah. Well, I think he gave back in the day, like negatives were on like plates.
Yeah.
So he gave the plates to the doctor. So he pretty much gave him the evidence. So then that way the doctor has the plates. So it seems more like, I just don't have a picture. And if they're like, well, show us the plates. And if he's like, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to consider later on in the story how science and the way we can search for the monster changes a lot, but still people think there's a monster.
Well, it's due a lot to the fact that the loch is massive. It's 22 miles long.
Yeah.
700 feet deep.
Yeah.
And it's murky.
Super murky.
So you can only see about 28 feet in front of your face.
That seems like a lot.
That's only like 2 basketball hoops.
That's like half of a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, but it'd have to be right on top of you for you to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they use sonar a lot.
Yeah.
And,
which is super unreliable in that environment with the steep sides. some of the sonar is going to end up like bouncing kind of left to right and interfering.
Yeah, and so you get a lot of like feedback
and noise. Yeah, just like the podcast.
Kinda, not really.
This one sounded pretty good.
There was in. Are we just gonna bounce around a little bit here?
Oh yeah, sure. You go.
Okay, in 1945, during World War II, a Lieutenant Commander Russell Flint was ferrying a bunch of British soldiers across the loch when he ran into the Loch Ness monster. They boom hit something, and it was enough to like shake everybody from their seats. And the monster like came out and was like, "Rawr!" And he's like, "Oh no, is that a plesiosaurus?" And it's like, "What do you want, monster?" And the Loch Ness monster was like, $3.50. And the guy's, "What do you mean $3.50?" And he's like, "About $3.50." He's like, "I'm not giving you no $3.50. Get out of here, monster." And then one of the guys was like, "I'll give him $1." Like, "You're not giving him shit. Get out of here. Why don't you give him $3.50? And he'll keep coming back." But then, so then he like kept going across the loch, and he wrote in his report that damage to the starboard bow following collision with the Loch Ness monster. Not a pile of floating debris. It was the monster.
Yeah.
It was debris. I didn't run into debris. I ran into the Loch Ness monster. I swear.
I swear.
He asked me for $3.50.
That guy was definitely wasted when he was doing that boat.
Yeah.
He ran right into a bunch of debris.
Right. And then just blamed it on the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
Which, like...
Come on, giving the guy a bad rap.
Right. Yeah. He just needs $3.50.
And it's important to note that the Loch Ness monster isn't the only creature in that area. We talked about the Kelpies. In 1808, a strange animal washed up on shore of the Scottish island of Stonesay. Eyewitnesses called it the Stonesay sea beast, and it is described as having a long neck and tail with 6 limbs that resemble paws. Its head is small like a sheep, and eyes are similar to a seal's, with small hairs around the head and neck, and skin that is rough to the touch and grayish in color. It measured 55 feet long, with the neck alone measuring 10 feet. There were no cameras in the 1800s, so to make it legitimate, they had a bunch of eyewitnesses go to the Capitol and testify under oath to the magistrate, as well as create drawings of the creature. They had no way to preserve it, so the skull was taken to London, England. Unfortunately, that was destroyed in the Blitz of World War II.
Oh,
but they still have vertebrae the vertebrae was sent to John Barclay in Edinburgh at the School of Anatomy. He states they are different than any vertebrae he's seen before. And this monster wasn't linked to Nessie until the huge excitement in the 30s.
Yeah.
And then one thing that these two, after they had been connected, it was kind of talked about that, the Loch Ness monster spends most of its life at sea, but maybe like salmon, they swim in through the bay and River Ness to the loch, and that's where they lay their eggs.
Yes.
Or have their babies, however they do it.
What do I got? Those types of creatures are called anadromous.
Oh, anadromous.
Which means they can live in fresh and salt water.
Okay.
And like you said, salmon or salmon. Do you say
salmon?
That? Salmon. Do you pronounce the L?
If I'm trying to be funny, I do.
Oh, okay. It's like
salmon.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're pronouncing a foreign word.
Salmon. But yeah, eels and dugongs.
Dugongs? Like the Pokemon?
No, dugong.
Oh.
So it's dugong. Maybe it's dugong. But those are like sea cows or manatees.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And some people think that if...
mermaids.
Yeah, mermaids. But also maybe Loch Ness.
Okay.
if the Loch Ness Monster is a mammal. If it's not a mammal, it might just be a large, overgrown seal. Is what some people theorize.
There was a scientist that he was researching the Loch Ness Monster, and with how cold it is and how deep and the area, and I think what the biggest part was it being very cold and having to expel the energy of swimming.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of things other than like walruses and seals and whales, in northern parts of the world.
Yeah.
Or in like the extreme cold temperatures of the world. So he did estimate that it would be
like a mammal.
Mammal, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Did you happen to stumble across anything about whale penises?
I wish I had, Dave, but I did not.
Okay. Well, Professor Michael Sweet came up with this theory. I think he's a biologist, but he came up with a theory that back in the day at sea, like crossing the Atlantic or exploring the Pacific, that when sailors saw sea monsters, that it could have been a whale on its back with an erect, what's the scientific word for that?
Ding dong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so then posing this theory, he got a picture of a whale on its back with a ding dong. And then for the sea monster, he put up that iconic The Surgeon's photo of the Loch Ness Monster. He made like an infographic kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And he put sea monster, but since it was a picture of the Loch Ness Monster, then people were like, oh, damn, that's a picture of a whale's dick, because it looks very similar. And I mean, I wouldn't go Googling whale penises, but if you do, it is kind of uncanny. But I was like, I looked at it, I'm like, yep, that's uncanny. That's enough. I didn't research it. I like looked for a bunch of different pictures of it. Yeah.
Dissecting all the angles and
right. And then because of the River Ness and the bay, it's only like not that far. I have it written down somewhere. See, now my notes are messed up. Oh, because it's only 12 kilometers and 7.5 miles to get from the ocean to the loch. Mm-hmm. So that it could have been a whale, but then other biologists were like, no, there's never been a whale reported in the loch. But it could go back to like these, maybe Loch Ness Monster travels back and forth. And then on the days when they're doing something like the Operation Deep Scan, where they had 25 boats and sonar, making a sonar curtain.
Yeah.
Pretty much just all in a line traveling down the loch. That say like if the Loch Ness Monster just feeds in the loch, because it's like, hey, no, this is an untapped resource that no other sea monsters know about, and then goes back out to sea, to go hang out with his crew. And if it's a day, so he comes swimming up the river and he's like, there's a lot of boats and shit, I'm going to go back to sea.
Yeah, it's like when you go camping and there's a bunch of tourists there or whatever.
Exactly. And you're like, I'm not hanging out in this spot. Let me go find a different place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. You got a bunch of people there, especially sonar, because aren't whales like susceptible to sonar?
I think so. I mean, that's how they communicate, is through sound.
Yeah. So, I mean, the monster could hear it and dislike that.
Yeah,
it's like worm grinding.
Worm grinding?
Yeah, it's where you take like a stick that has like notches in it, and then you run another stick over it, and it goes like, and it vibrates the earth, and all the worms come out of the ground.
Oh.
It's not called worm grinding. It's called something else. But
I find night crawlers the other way, where you flashlight it, and because they come out, but if they feel the vibrations of your feet, they go back in. Mm-hmm. So you got to go like really slow and really quiet, and then you can snatch them.
Damn.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's like, it's not like mushroom hunting, but it is, because you're like, in your day-to-day life, you don't see worms just hanging out of their holes. But if you go slow and you flashlight them, spotlight them, you start seeing like hundreds of them, and you're like, holy crap.
Really?
Yeah, especially like early morning when the dew's out.
Okay.
You can go and get a bunch of night crawlers for fishing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are people that have committed their lives. Like this one guy would go on vacation. He was from England, like London or wherever. And every time he had vacation, he would go hang out at the loch and look for the monster and try to see it. And he was always been fascinated by it. So then one day he's like, well, why don't I just sell my house and just go up there? What do they call that? When you live in a van down by the river.
Like nomad type thing?
Yeah. Boondocking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he went up there to go boondocking, which is like you just find places to park your RV. And he makes some money by selling like little sculptures of the Loch Ness while he like spends all his time with binoculars just like looking for this thing.
Yeah. Speaking of those type of people, Roy Mackle, a biochemistry professor from the University of Chicago, he got caught up in the Loch Ness Monster when he saw what he thought was the creature.
Nessie mania.
As he watched, he saw the creature come out of the water, head, neck, and then all of a sudden wings, and it turned out to be a bird.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw a couple of pictures of like a bird on the water, and then they kind of like enhanced the photo to be like a sunnier day.
Yeah.
Where like a lot of the light from the water kind of drowns out the black of the bird.
Yeah, that's the hard edges.
Yeah. It really blurred everything up. Then Mackle ended up becoming the head of the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau.
LNI.
Yeah. He took everything he knew about Loch and descriptions and sightings and determined that the creature would have to be a mammal. I was looking for that earlier. And then he also studied the environment and determined that the loch could support a group of large predators, like the habitat can.
Yeah. And you'd have to have a breeding population. So there would have to be at least 50 to ensure there's no inbreeding going on. And 100 or 500 to make sure there's not gene drift, which means if you have a smaller population and 2 of them are purple, well, how the breeding goes and how genetic works, eventually there's going to be no purple ones. So that's a gene drift. Like that gene falls off. Like, so you need at least 500 to make sure like that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think some Japanese came in and ran a DNA test on the loch.
Oh, which DNA test?
Yeah, because
turns out it's 100% that loch.
Yeah. And then because like fish swim around and animals swim around in it, and they're just pooping and peeing in this thing.
Hell yeah!
And so by doing a genetic, what do you call that? Like a 23andMe on the loch, it'll show you all the different species that interact with the loch, because it'll have their DNA in there. And they found out there was no dinosaurs.
Oh, really?
No dinosaur DNA. So it's not a plesiosaur.
It's just like 0% dinosaur.
Yep, no dinosaurs. You want to get into the kooky stuff?
Well, let me hit this first. And
All
I was just trying to look up to see if this guy was involved with your volunteer work you were talking about there in the beginning. But Adrian Shine, he leads the Loch Ness Project and has designed the Loch Ness Center. When he was 8 years old, he and his family went to Munsley on the east coast of Britain. While he was there, he saw a series of fast-moving humps on the horizon of the water. He ended up building a small submersible, and it was like in an orb shape, to explore the depths of actually Loch Morar, because that loch isn't as murky.
Okay.
So being in the submersible, he was able to see things. He, through his research at the loch, he explained the Norwegian sea serpent with the multiple humps in the water as like boat waves.
Yeah.
And he kind of came up with a lot of the reasons it's probably not a monster, but so I don't know if he's involved with that Loch Ness Center project you got going on now. I mean, he could be dead for all I know.
No, he started it. The guy who runs it now, Paul Nixon, is the general manager, like, keeping it going forward. Okay. Yeah, I've heard the wave thing too, because boats make wakes, and if you do like a 90-degree cut through another wake, how the waves interact, they kind of undulate. They don't act like normal waves.
Yeah, it was such a crazy thing to see, because it turned like, if you ever see like a sine wave on a
oscilloscope.
Yeah, on an oscilloscope, it just looked like they were staying right there.
Yeah, just right in that area. Yeah. Like they weren't like spreading out.
Yeah, it was super crazy to see.
Yeah, and if you are at a place that is known to have a monster in it, you could definitely be like, whoa, what the crap did I just see?
Yeah, as well as the kind of like the shiny water creating a fuzzy layer around objects in the water.
Yeah, there's some kind of phenomenon that happens when you are looking at the lake, and because it can be so clear, and if you're using binoculars, you could see like one of those birds you were talking about, but since you don't really have a point of reference, it can seem bigger than it actually is. Yeah. And so a lot of that one guy that thought he saw it and then ended up coming back and looking and was like, oh, I think I see it again, and then you saw it fly away. It's like, oh, that's a bird.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you hear about the monster that they did find in the lake?
The monster they did find in the lake.
There were some people searching in Loch Ness, and they found a prop monster used for an old 1960s Sherlock Holmes movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so what was happening was, when they were shooting this movie, it was like the head sticking out of the water. It was all in the water.
Yeah.
This prop. And it was like the head sticking out of the water, and then like a hump, and then a tail or something like that. And the director was like, nah, get rid of that hump and that tail. So when they take it off, the whole thing just becomes off balance and sinks.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they finished the movie or what, but some people I don't know if they were sending down like a waterproof camera or using sonar or something, but they were like, holy shit, what's this?
Yeah.
And then they like go down and grab it and bring it up, and it's like a big plastic cardboard Loch Ness head.
That's crazy. The prop. Have you heard about the connection between the Loch Ness and Aleister Crowley?
No.
Yes. Do you know who Aleister Crowley is?
Is he the guy who started the Church of Satan?
It's kind of, yeah. He started pretty much. But he's an English occultist, philosopher, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. But he bought a house or a mansion or an estate, whatever you want to call it, called the Bullskin House.
Okay.
And it's right on the banks of the loch. And he bought it because he wanted to do the ritual to summon his guardian angel.
Whoa.
And the house had to have like, windows and doors that open to all the four directions, and be a body of water. So this house fit everything he nedded. So then he just had to get,
Also, you get your own monster?
Yeah, like a fatted goat and some fertilized eggs of roosters. And, well, I mean, because you have to summon your guardian angel.
Oh, yeah. Sacrifice something.
Yeah, and how you do it is you have to summon the 12 kings and dukes of hell.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and it
fucking playing telephone over here.
Dude, it takes like 6 months to do this ritual.
Jeez.
And so he started doing the ritual, and like he said in his own words that the house was full of shady, like spooky shadows and shit. So much so that his coachman became an alcoholic, and this clairvoyant that he had to help with the ritual became a prostitute.
Nice.
Okay.
Sounds like the work of Satan to me.
Yeah, but then the other, ceremonial magicians and occultists were like got wind of what Crowley was doing, and so they like summoned him to Paris, and he was only like 3-4 months into this ritual, because pretty much what you have to do, you call up these demons, and then you have to tell them, you got to like exorcise them, because then you get rid of, by doing that, you get rid of all of your sin and become pure, and then you can summon up your guardian angel because you're 100% pure, and he'll appear to you. If you're with sin, your guardian angel's not going to show up. So he's trying to get to heaven by going through hell, pretty much. Kind of like Dante's Inferno kind of deal. But they heard wind of this, and they're like, this is super dangerous because you're all these like high-level demons you're summoning. So they're like, hey, come to Paris. We need to talk to you. And so he's like, oh, okay. And he leaves. And he didn't complete the ritual, and he didn't like you do with a Ouija board, like say goodbye and knock and blow out the candle and sage. He just like left. And so and that was in like 1899.
Okay.
Like right before the turn of the century. And so then you fast forward to 1973, and this guy, Donald Omond, like the O-Man, and his friend Teddy Holiday.
Good name.
Yeah, they
should be a cowboy.
They get together, and they're like priestish kind of people.
Okay.
They're kind of like that guy from Amityville and The Conjuring, where he's like, he can do an exorcism, but he's not really a priest.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. They get together and they figure out, because all this Crowley stuff, and because people have seen weird shit that happens at Loch Ness, because I guess it also is on a ley line. And there's been sightings of UFOs all around that area.
Whoa.
Yeah, so Teddy is like, maybe this is UFO connected, like Bigfoot UFO, Loch Ness UFO, you know. And then Donald, the O-Man, thinks it's paranormal projection. So it's like maybe Loch Ness is one of these demons that Crowley summoned, because there's after Crowley left, there's some history about this guy walking through the cemetery that's on that property and found a tapestry and a conch underneath a tomb, a
like
slab.
A conch shell?
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the tapestry, it has all these weird, what do you call it, embroideries of eels and stuff. So they're like, and it was new and it wasn't moldy, so they're like, someone was probably like doing some evil shit out here and maybe got interrupted and just shoved everything into this, under this tombstone. And so it's like, well, maybe they tried to summon some weird eel demon and didn't get through with it, and that's what the Loch Ness is.
Oh, something else came through the portal.
Yeah. And so they got the bright idea to do like 12 different exorcisms on the loch itself. And so they went to all these points around the loch and did their exorcisms, and then fucking threw their holy water on the ground and on into the loch. And then as
started bubbling and fizzing.
Well, yeah, because then the last one they have to do in the middle, the exact middle of the loch. So they row out there, and the water starts getting choppy, and they start feeling uneasy, and they start doing their like devil be gone chants like St. Columba did. And like they go out there, and Donald starts doing his exorcism, and he like throws the last of the holy water in there, and then like everything gets super choppy, and Donald doesn't feel well, and he actually like has to be like helped to stand up and gets all pale, and they row back out, you know, and they're like, yeah, we did it, we exorcised the loch,
exorcised the demons.
Yeah. And the next day Donald's all like bedridden and stuff because he's all fucked up, and so Teddy goes out to like, well, let me go see if I get a feel for this area, see if we did it or not. And when he's walking down there, he sees a man in black, like all black, like motorcycle gear kind of black.
I'm getting goosebumps.
With like a helmet and goggles. So he could have been a motorcycle rider, but
he looked almost like a motorcycle rider.
Yeah, but when he went, he's like, okay, is this guy real or is this guy a demon? So his idea is to go walk over and pretend to trip and like fall into the guy so he can like touch him to see if he's real. And he's like, all right. And when he starts to get closer, the guy just vanishes.
Ooh.
And they said vanishes with what sounded like whistles and laughter.
Oh, yeesh.
Yeah. So yeah. And then I don't know what happened to Donald, but Teddy Holiday still like was super obsessed with the area, and he's got accounts of seeing like UFOs and stuff, like because he was like walking through a clearing and saw this light take off from it, and he was like, that's crazy. And then later on, he actually, when he's around the locks, has a heart attack and ends up dying.
Damn.
Yeah, he was just super obsessed with the lock the rest of his life.
Till the end,
yeah. And then, a side note, that Bullskin house that was all haunted and with the portals and shit, Jimmy Page owned that house.
Really?
In 1970.
What band was he in?
Led Zeppelin, man.
Led Zeppelin, okay. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I think I'm just sort of Led Zepp buff.
Yeah.
I know who Jimmy Page is. I know who Led Zeppelin is.
He didn't put them together.
Yeah.
Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin. Because later on they went on a tour, but they couldn't be Led Zeppelin because it was weird kind of thing. But they still did Zeppelin songs. Yeah, it was
they just toured as Robert Plant and
Jimmy Page. Yeah, I think it was maybe like a legal reason, like maybe because the drummer and the bassist or whatever weren't there, so they couldn't be Led Zeppelin. Yeah. You got anything else?
No, that was pretty much it for me. We talked about the possible answers being birds or seals or whales or one thing that was brought up was kind of before the Duke was hired to find evidence. One of the possible theories is like people just kind of made up a story to kind of get tourism there.
Yeah.
And then it kind of exploded into this big thing, which, hey, worked.
Mr. and Mrs. McKay, they were actually, they owned a hotel. And I've seen documentaries, and a lot of the people are either like fishermen or hotel owners or people that run Loch Ness Monster sightseeing stuff.
Kind of like what Roswell kind of turned into.
Yeah. Because everybody's got a story, but then everybody's also kind of profiting on this tourism because I've heard different amounts, but it seems like because I've heard 7 million, I've heard 37 million, and then most recently I've heard $800 million worth of tourist money.
Whoa, that's crazy. In a place that like would probably never be known for anything else.
Yeah, except this body of water.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of food they got there. Yeah, hummus,
haggis. Yeah, some Scottish food. A lot. Yeah. What's that? Shepherd's pie, I think is.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Where you got the lamb and stuff. And it's fucking beautiful. I would go just check it out just for the scenery.
Yeah, all I really saw was the lake, but I mean, I watched Highlander.
Yeah,
that looks cool.
Exactly. Because there's one spot. They're like, this is the most picturesque spot, and there's like a castle and like. The locks right there, and I guess it was used in a bunch of stuff like Game of Thrones and Outlander, I think is another show.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, that was all I had, Davey. How about you?
Nope, I think I covered it.
Oh, there
everything
you go,
from paranatural to penises.
The two P's of the podcast.
2 P's in a podcast.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you had a good time. I know I sure did.
Yeah, and if you like this, like, subscribe to whatever you're listening to us on. Give it subscribe, and if you, later on you're like, why am I still subscribed to that? Just unsubscribe. It's really easy and it's free. And if for some reason you're listening to us on like someone else's Spotify account or something, go ahead and subscribe on their account. They're free. They're not going to notice. They're not going to get a bill. Yeah. I
mean, or if you got a kooky uncle or a crazy cousin. Send an episode over. We really appreciate sharing as well.
Yeah, or if you're like giving out facts that you've heard on the podcast and people are like, wow, you're so smart. Where'd you learn this? You can be like, I'll send you a link to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast.
Yeah, because I mean, I know that not everybody's into this kind of stuff. Even like a lot of my close friends are like, yeah, I never listened. But it's finding those kooks that do like it that I like to try to do.
Yeah, and it's also maybe it might make you like it. Because, we're entertaining. I like to think.
And I like how we do everything from the Loch Ness Monster to the tsunami in Japan. It kind of spans a thing. If you have any topics you'd like to suggest, and Carmen did suggest a couple of topics for us. So hopefully
we'll get on the list.
Yeah, we'll get that on the list and hopefully do some of them soon. And, hey, make sure you're good to yourselves out there.
Yes, and as Mahatma Gandhi said, learn as if you will live forever, but live like you'll die tomorrow.